thank you very, very much for coming and spending your lunch hour and working on yourself. My goal today is for everybody to leave with a bit of inspiration and a bit of clarity around how an amazing 2019 year is going to actually look for them. So this is a working environment where you're going to have a chance to work on what does 29 look like, you know, how amazing is it going to be at the end of the year, and what does success actually look like. And one of the things that drives me to want to help inspire people to get clarity of their goals and to achieve beyond what they felt that they could actually achieve was through one of my life experiences. Some of you will have heard this last time, so I'm sorry for repeating it, but it's a very big driver with what I do. I work with business owners and CEOs and executives. I'm a business coach. So that's one of the things that drives me to give people clarity is, you know, it's our life experiences that lead us to the path that we're on. It started, who's heard of Zig Ziglar? Yeah, people, anyone heard of Zig Ziglar? Yep. Back in Melbourne when I was probably 18 or 19, he was a motivational speaker, inspirational guy. Went to one of his presentations with my now husband, who was my partner, my fiance then, and we had this little workbook on ourselves, and we had to dream our wildest dreams. And he was like, you know, these Americans, how they're really over the top, and he's like, dream out wild, and where do you want to be at 50, and where do you want to be at 60, and what kind of house, and what kind of holidays, and what kind of people, and it was, you know, and every time we'd finished, he's like, and dream more, and so my husband and I are sitting here just engaged, and we're like writing out all this thing, and we had this big list of the next 50 years of our life, which was, you know, have children, get married, start a business, backpack the world, climb a mountain, have a holiday house, all these things, as he kept, you know, saying, dream more, dream more, dream more. So we'd done this workshop, had fun, totally forgotten about it. And then moved forward till about 22. We'd been married probably a year maybe. We'd just bought our first house in Karana, and we'd been to a show in Subiaco, and we were coming home from the show. I'd had one drink in intermission, so, you know, that nice cozy feeling after one drink, and we were on our way home. And, you know, it's so clear in my mind, and that was, you know, many, many years ago, early 20s, now in my mid-50s, and it still was clear as day what happened that night. I was basically at the traffic lights in this lull of half asleep on my way home with my husband, and I remember thinking, this is it, life is perfect, I'm a real adult now, I've just 4 months into my first home, and it was just like that moment of, oh, this is what I've been waiting for, this is what a real adult is, you know, a real house and a real job and a mortgage and a gorgeous husband, and just life is just going to be all rosy from now on. I've made it, you know, this is what adults feel like all the time, I've made it. And it was almost scary. It was so calm at like 11:30 driving home from the theatre that it was almost a bit scary. It was like the calm before the storm, and I remember that feeling of, oh, life can't really be this perfect, can it? You know, this is just not how perfect I imagined it. Got home, went to bed. My husband was wanting to stay up, and so he decided that we'd had an open fire on before we left, and my dad had left the can of petrol next to the mower in our family room to lend us the mower, and he saw the can of petrol. I went to bed, and he said, oh, I'll be home, I'll be in bed in a minute. Got the can of petrol, was thinking of doing something really silly, he was thinking of putting a cup of petrol on the fire to get it going quickly. So instead, he's walking through the kitchen on his way to the lounge room, had a woolen jumper on and had a nylon trench coat on the top. And has anyone ever taken a jumper off in the dark and seen the sparks? Yeah. So he's doing, as he's walking through the kitchen, opening this can of petrol, the whole thing exploded in his face. So he's doused in petrol from head to toe at 11:30 at night, walking through the kitchen, didn't even get close to the fire. So he's head to toe fully alight, the wooden floorboards are alight, the can of petrol's gone, it's disintegrated, and he's doused from head to toe. So he instantly runs into the shower, puts the shower on full bore, it's not making any difference. No difference at all. And so I'm fast asleep, and you know when you just go to sleep, it's like a really deep, weird sleep, especially it was late, I'd had a drink. And I woke up and all I could hear was David screaming, Susie, 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 save me, save me, save me. And I'm like, what's going on? Like, what's going on? And I couldn't get out of the bedroom because we just started painting all the rooms. So we'd been in a different room every week. And I couldn't get out of the room, and he just kept screaming. And then I found the light switch, and the electricity had already burnt through because the front of the house is like quite on fire by this stage. Eventually I found it, opened the door, and lo and behold, the bathroom was right in front of our bedroom. There's my husband, fully alive from head to toe. And the shower is going everywhere, but it wasn't making any difference. It was just like something that you would see off a movie. It was the most horrible thing that I would ever remember seeing in my entire life. And he was fully on fire, and everything was melting off him, all his hands. Everything was just melting, like gloves just coming off him. The smell of like burning flesh, that sweet, sick smell. It was just the most horrific thing I've ever seen. So I quickly got a towel, suffocated the flames, and dragged him through the house. Got him into our swimming pool, and thank goodness, we had a saltwater swimming pool. Got him in the pool, and ran next door, bashed on the neighbour. Didn't wait for them to come out, just screamed for help, and they, luckily heard. Came back, got in the pool with him because I was worried he'd breathed. All his face was bent. He'd breathed so much fire in. I'm like, he's going to stop breathing. So I just kept putting his head under, thinking salt water in his mouth and in his throat's going to be better than me having to, do a tracheotomy or something like that. I just wanted him alive. Anyway, ambulance came, fire engine came, we got to ICU, got to hospital. He was in ICU for a couple of weeks, but on day 3, he was, has anyone ever seen a burns victim? And what happens to them? They just swell up. And by day 3, you couldn't tell he was a human. He was black and charred and swollen. There was no eyes, no mouth, no nothing. It was just all black and swollen. He was in a state so bad that everyone got to see him. And when you're a burns victim or in the burns in ICU, you don't generally see people. But because he was over 30% of his body was 3rd-degree burn, all our friends got to see him because they were like, he's not going to live. So then day 3, when he was at his worst and swollen the most and charred the most, I was there with him in ICU, and he stopped. And it was like everything stopped. And I was like, most people would have thought that I would have thought, oh, that's it, he's gone. But the weirdest thing is that Talking Heads was our favourite band, and we used to dance to Talking Heads a lot. And so Burning Down the House was on the radio in ICU when he stopped. And I was like, no, he's not over. He's not over yet. And I'm waiting and waiting, and the doctors are all running around. And I mean, it seemed like forever, but it was maybe 30 seconds, I don't know. And then he came back. And then the minute he came back, they closed the doors of ICU, and no one got to see him again. No one got to see him for months. Then once he got out of ICU, he got put into the burns unit. And as if you've ever had any burns victims as friends, the burns unit's a closed unit. We have to scrub, gown. You can't have any diseases before you go in, and you're only allowed 2 visitors to see you the whole time. So once he came back, they realised this guy's going to live. He's got the will to live. We're going to give him a go. And no one got to see him after that for a very long time because he was in hospital for the good part of most of the year. So the first conversation I had with him, and this is why I wanted to share this story, even though it is a bit gruesome. The first time that we actually spoke, which was about 3.5 weeks after the actual accident had happened, we're in the burns unit, and he was saying, I've had some really weird dreams. These drugs are really weird. All the morphine and pethidine, and he had a patient-controlled analgesic. The pain of burns is just horrific. So, and I said, okay, tell me about them and everything. So he started to tell me about this worst one. And he said it was really, really weird. I was in a glass room, and you were beside me. And he said, my body, and he hadn't seen himself yet. Didn't know what he looked like, didn't know how bad he was burnt. This is one of the first conversations I had with him. He said, my body was a mess. It was a black charred mess. And I thought, what have I done? I've screwed up really badly here. And he said, I was in a glass room, I don't know why, it was this weird glass square room, and he said my parents were on the other side of the glass. They couldn't come in, and they wanted to see me, but they couldn't come in. And he said, I looked at my body and I thought, what have I done? And he said, I had a choice to stay or go. And he said, I knew that it would be really, really hard if I chose to stay. And this is an atheist Scotsman, right? Super atheist Scotsman. And this is a dream he's telling me about. He said, I had a choice to stay or go. And so I said, tell me what the room was like. Describe me the room, describe everything. And he did. And I said to him, that actually happened. That was not a dream, right? And he's like, well, what was the glass? And I'm like, you were in an isolated room in ICU. No one was allowed in. And he said, well, why my parents? Why were they there? Where are my parents? My parents live in Scotland. Why is that? And he said, I said, they've been here for 3 weeks. They've had to go home. They were not allowed in because of staff, because she'd been in hospital in the UK. And he's like, well, what happened? He said, I saw my body. How did I see my body? And I said, well, you actually passed away at that time. And he's like, wow, like, because he's super atheist. And I said, so what made you, like, what choices, what made you come back? And he said, I saw you there. And he said, remember that list? He said, remember that list that we made? Remember all those goals and all those dreams that we made together? And he said, we just started, we've been in the house 4 months. And he said, I couldn't let you down. We hadn't even ticked anything off yet, other than buy a house and get married. He said, we just started, and we had this plan of 50 years we'd written out together. I was only 20 when I got married. And he said, I wasn't going to leave you. Because when I'd made a commitment and made that plan with you, I couldn't just give up like that. And he said, I knew it was going to be really hard, but I knew you would be there with me. And so, you know, I want to share this story, you know, with, you know, other, you know, human beings like myself that can understand the power of, you know, having that clear vision and direction of where you want to go in life with the person you want to be with, and how powerful that can actually be. And it can be so powerful that I've actually watched it literally bring someone back from the dead. And that, you know, if you can get really clear on what you want in life and what you want, and how, you know, you want your life to be at the end, and what kind of legacy you want to leave, and what kind of, you know, footprint you want to leave on the earth, then what's going to happen is that as you go through these, you know, challenges in life that we all face, you know, diseases, you know, as Fiona said, you know, I had a disease that I was given 5 years to live at 33. Eating, they just kept taking organs out after organs out after organs out, but here, 53, and I'm still here. So it, you know, it didn't get me. So we all have things like that. Every one of us has a story. But the clearer we are on what we want to be, and what impact we want to make, and what legacy we want to leave on this earth before we leave, the easier it is to get through those challenges that we go through, because we all go through them. Every one of us has challenges in health, in relationship, in work, in finances. But if we can see what it's like at the other end, then we can navigate around them and we can push through them. But so often I have people come to me with their businesses or talk to me about what they want, and they can't see the other side, so they give up. They give up on their bodies, they give up on their relationships, they give up on their health, they give up on their business, they give up on their finances. They give up on themselves, which is the person who, it's our biggest vehicle we have in the whole world is us, our mind and our body. They give up on that. And that's all we have to get through this journey here on earth this time. So I'm urging you today to think hard about, you know, what you want to achieve over the next year. And you won't achieve all of them, I accept that, but the clearer you are, as things pop up, as little speed humps and little hurdles happen, you'll be able to navigate through them much easier, because you'll see the other side. And you know, that's my hope, that you will be able to, you know, get that clarity so that you can get through that. So I showed this to people last time. So this is just a really nice, basic, simple formula of how we can achieve that. Getting clarity of what we want. What are our goals? You know, what are our dreams? What do we want to see? And get specific on the goals, which is what we'll do today, and make some plans. Make some plans on how we can achieve them, and then get some specific actions in place. so that we can actually achieve them. And then having that attitude of, this is my life, I'm going to take ownership, I'm going to be accountable and responsible for my own outcomes. How many people know people that live here?
In bed. I've got a teenager.
Yeah, yeah, I've had them. So they expect life to deliver for them. And so they're all about why they can't do this, why they can't do that, why they can't do the next thing, why they didn't get the job, why they didn't do this, why they didn't do that. So what we want to look at today is, okay, if we want to, achieve things over this year or over our life and leave a legacy, we have to live here. That's the attitude here of success. We have to take ownership and be accountable and responsible for what are we going to do. I mean, I have a girlfriend that said to me the other day, she said, we were best friends from grade 1 and things, there's many challenges that have happened. And she said to me the other day, she said, I wish I had just copied you. I was like, you can't, we're all on our own journey. But if you take ownership of what you dealt with, then it's just so much easier because you can go forward. This way, you're just going to be stuck in one spot. You're not going to go forward. And sometimes, we know people that they just circle every year is the same after, year after year. So, thank you. Thank you. So I got this. These statistics that I didn't show last time. Really interesting. And I heard someone mentioning about they'd written their goals last time. So this is a study done by a psychologist at University of California. 267 participants. So this first group, they were asked to think about goals. So imagine, I just said to you all, think about some goals. That's it. No more than that. Just think about some goals. So out of them, they got 4.28 of those goals out of 10 achieved. That's it. They just thought about them. Then this group here, the participants were asked to write their goals down and also asked to formulate some action commitments. So get some real, concrete, actions to go. So then they've now got 6 out of 10 of their goals achieved. So they're a little bit higher. So then this next group, they had written goals, asked to formulate an action plan, send their goals and action commitments to a friend. Imagine, we've probably all set goals around, something or a rather, but we haven't told anyone. Because what happens if we fail? That would be awful. But if we tell our friend, they're not going to not love us anymore if we fail. And it's not failing, it's just a learning anyway. There's no such thing as a failure, it's just learnings all the time. That's how we learn, is through failing. So if we can share it with a friend, we're just going to be so much more, we're going to increase our chances of achieving it so much more. So then we've got this group here. Now this is where we get the high achievement. These people got 7.6 out of 10 of their goals achieved. So they had written goals, same action plan, send their goals. The added thing was a weekly support partner. And they also had reminders. So I'm going to, by the end of today, give you some tips on how we can actually get all of this done so that of the goals you decide today, hopefully, most of you will get 7.6 out of 10 of them achieved, which would be pretty cool. Be really cool. So, some of you did this last time or were sent this last time. Have we got one for everybody or not?
Extras in the middle of most tables. Is there anyone over at the other side that hasn't got?
So all this is just a quick snapshot to say, where am I now? Where am I now with my wheel of life? So just 5 minutes to quickly jot your wheel and then join them up with where you are now today. So if everyone's finished or nearly finished, those that have finished, the next step is to look at thinking, okay, what's one thing that you would like to achieve this year that's going to just give you, maybe 1 point or half a point greater in that area. Now you might have an area of your life that you're pretty happy with. So you might not have something in that. You might put one in every one, up to you. Okay, have we got some goals written out? Yep. Okay, so what about, the more we hear about other people, the more we realise that we're all pretty much just the same. Who would like to share a goal around maybe health? Who would like to share a goal around health? Yep.
I'd like to complete a 19k ultra marathon within the 10.
Wow, awesome.
Now I've held the ultra.
And have you registered yet? Right, which one is it?
The Margaret one.
Oh, how beautiful. That looks very enticing. Fantastic. I'd like, yes, that would be beautiful. The scenery would be magnificent.
It will be a lovely race. I'm just got to get through.
How many Ks is everyone doing each?
It's split legs, so
Okay.
I'm doing the second longest, which is 19.
Okay.
So that's technically difficult, so I was strategic.
Okay, good. That sounds amazing. Well done. Great. Okay, so what about anyone got any goals around, say, physical environment? One of mine that I had a couple of years ago was to do my back patio up, and then the next year was to do the deck up. And I'll tell you how funny it can be if you are so clear on your vision. I had this vision. We've had this house, same house by the way, in Karrinyup, a little old state housing house that's just grown and grown and grown as the family's grown, and we overlook Lake Weller. But we have one of those concrete verandas that are like this big, you know, those old concrete ones with the metal pole. So every morning as the sun comes up over the lake, we'd all like squash out and sit with this kitchen stools and watch the sun come up. And I'm like, one day I'm going to have this beautiful deck out here, and we can have a table, we can have dinner. I've been talking about that for years. I've got the plans drawn up and approved from the council, but my husband's Scottish, as we were just talking about. And he was like, nah, there's no way we're going to spend 25 grand on a deck. You know, that was just no way in the world. Anyway, no way in the world. And a couple of my friends had said to me coming up to my 50th, what do you want for your 50th? All I want is my deck. All I want is my deck. And just joking, right? That's what I was, the deck. Anyway, a bunch of my friends went to David, carpenters and builders and people that are very talented, and said, we want to build Sue's dream deck for her. And we need 8 grand for the materials, and it's a long weekend. We're going to get everything set up for the whole long weekend. All you have to do is get rid of her for the weekend.
Doesn't sound good.
No, it was great. It was great because our son lives in Melbourne, so he booked a surprise flight to take me to Melbourne for my 50th as a surprise. So we're driving back from the airport on the Monday afternoon, and I'm like, that was the best surprise in the world. That's the best present I've ever had in the world. And he's like, really? There's nothing else that you would like more than that? And I'm like, well, it was for a surprise. I saw my son. We had a ball. And as we drove up to our driveway, there's this 30 square metre deck with about 40 people on it, all just shouting, right, surprise! And they'd worked all weekend. The women had done the cooking and the food for the guys, and I'd had a dozen guys building this deck for me. And it's like, it's this high, it's got a shed underneath, it's a 30 square metre deck. And like I said to guys, look, the power of dreaming is amazing. I just had to dream it, and it happened, which was incredible. And that was my dream environment, was to have a deck. I mean, it took 30 years to happen, but it happened eventually. So it's amazing, the power of when you dream it, just sometimes it can just happen. So who would like to share something about their environment that they would like to change, that would make it a little bit nicer? Who'd like to share something? Yep.
Bathroom and laundry renovation.
Great.
In
Perfect.
the house over 15 years. That was supposed to happen 15 years ago.
Oh, good. Oh, well, you're still in the house and you're still alive, so there's plenty of time. Great. Fantastic. Awesome.
So somebody got one of these sheets as well, that's the one
Yep.
to fill in.
Yep. So thank you for sharing, because it's great to hear people's goals and hear what everyone's always so very, very different. And, you know, sometimes, as I said, life, you know, speed bumps happen, and sometimes we don't quite achieve it, but it just keeps us focused, and it gives us the motivation to keep going. Someone said that they wrote a goal down last year and they achieved it. Do you want to share that?
Oh, me.
You. Both of you. You can both do it. Yeah.
So mine was weird because I felt like I didn't have any control over it, and that was the romance one.
Yep.
So I wrote down probably going out more and joining a hobby, like getting into a hobby that will expose me to different people.
Mm-hmm.
Turns out that I started dating someone who was my friend from like 8 years ago, and that was not even part of my action plan, but it happened.
Yep.
So that
Woohoo! Yeah, so you put the energy out there and it happened. That's great. Fantastic. Well done. And what was your...
I had goals around finances.
Yep.
I was just at the stage of putting my house on the market, so I could downsize and do all sorts of things. So within, I think, about a month of the workshop, my house was on the market. I'd done everything, sorted out my new place, got all sorts of action plans in place to get rid of credit card debt and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And by the time I got a follow-up from my buddy at the end of the year, I could say all done.
Woohoo! Well done. Round of applause for you. That's great. That's so exciting. Fantastic. That's so good. Oh, well done. Well done to you. So, what we want to do now, if we can go to this one here, is look at saying, all right, so from the goals that you've identified, we're wanting to put our goals in here, and then we want to decide when do we want to achieve them by. So one might be, like the lady doing the marathon, that might be in April. Another one might be, I'm wanting to go on a holiday in June. Another one might be pay off the credit card by, March. So they'll be scattered. So decide when you want to achieve them by, and then the thing is to chop it up so that there's just little actions. Like with your bathroom, it might be you might want to have the bathroom renovated by, and we've just done the financial year here to the end of June. We did do 12 months, but the boxes got very small. So say you say, I want to have, the goal is to achieve the bathroom by Christmas. Your first action might be to set up a savings account and to have $100 or $200 a week direct debited to it. And then the action next month might be get 4 quotes. So chop it down to little tiny things that you can actually do. And then it just makes it so much easier. And Fiona and I were talking about what happens after this, when we've got this. And I'll share that once we've got this done. But if everyone can go through and put all their goals in first, and then start to have a look at when they want to achieve it and some small actions. Goal is you'll get it done before you go. Okay, so now what I want everyone to do is pair up with the person next to them. So I'm hoping we've all got pairs. If you can pair up with somebody and tell me if there's no pair, because then we'll move. So we've got pairs here. 1, 2, 3. Can everyone find a partner, please? This is really important for your success. This is that last link. The last link. Okay, so share your number one goal. Share your number one goal with each person. I want everyone to share their goal. So verbally share your number one goal for 2019, and then get each other's details. Make sure you get each other's details. Okay, so now everyone has swapped phone numbers and names on the top bit that says my accountability buddy. Did you everyone see that up the top here? It's got my accountability buddy up the top. So the person that you shared with, make sure you get their details on the top so you can be held accountable by this other person who wants to achieve their goals as well. So make sure before you leave, you've got each other's details so they can hold you accountable, so they can see you in the corridor or come back here in 6 months' time and go, how did you go? So we're just about to finish up. So I just want to make sure that people know what they can do to increase the chances of actually achieving this. So make sure you have it somewhere where you can see it. Have it visible. Don't just hide it and never look at it. Have it visible so you can actually see it. Review it regularly. Now, Fiona asked me, what's the gap between having this and getting it done? So what I do with clients that I'm working for, we have the year's goals, we have the year plan, but then at the beginning of the month, we make sure we look at, okay, what are we going to achieve in the month? And then we go to the diary or the calendar or whatever it is and put those actions in the calendar. So that if it's, you know, I would like to learn a musical instrument and the goal is, you know, to book lessons or go and try some teachers or whatever, that's in your diary, that's in your calendar. You know, Monday afternoon, I'm going to do that. Or if it's I want to, you know, join a fitness group or whatever, something like that, it's in the calendar. The actions have to be in your calendar to happen. And that's a gap that often people don't do. So it's really important. So does that answer your question? Put them in your calendar. Just a little bit of shush just before we finish. We're just about to finish. So make sure we acknowledge achievement. So check in with your buddy if you can and acknowledge. Tell as many people as you can. Whenever I'm training for a big race, I put the calendar on the fridge. I put my training calendar on the fridge. And if anyone sees mum comes out of bed late, it's like, oh, weren't you meant to be on your bike? Or, you know, that was a good run you did or whatever. So I know. Exactly. So if you've got a really big goal, put it up there. Put it up, and I put it on my fridge so everybody sees. And it's interesting when people come to your house, they see it as well, and they go, oh, you're training for that, or oh, you want to do that. And I used to put lots of things up about my when I was doing my deck plans and things like that on my whiteboard. Make sure people know, have a reward, learn about other people's goals. You know, one of the old sayings, you know, that law of reciprocity. You know, if you help enough people get what they want, you'll get what you want. You know, why did these people build me a deck for nothing and give up their whole weekend? Because I'll do anything to help anybody, and I love them all, and they've done many things to help them. So they wanted to give it back. They wanted to pay it back and say, hey, thanks. You know, over the last 20 years since we've known you, you're always putting yourself out. We want to put ourselves out for you. So the more you can find out about other people's achievements, help them achievement, you know, then what's going to happen is when you're wanting some support to achieve your goal, they're going to say, hey, you want to get fit? Hey, let's go for a walk on Sunday along the coast. I'd love to help you. You know, let's be committed. Whenever I'm training through a race in winter, I always have a training buddy, because when you wake up at 5 o'clock and it's pouring, I will easily let myself down, but I'll never let a girlfriend down. Never will I let a girlfriend down, ever. So always make sure I have a training buddy in winter for any event that I'm training for, because I know I'll just wake up and go, oh, it's raining, it's 2 degrees, I'm not getting up there. But I just wouldn't let a friend down. So think about how you can set yourself up for success by using some of these tools. Our slide assistant, Zig Ziglar here. It's not what happens to you that determines how far you'll go in life, it's how you handle what happens to you. So I hope that I've given you some inspiration to be, you know, beyond achieving what you feel that you can, because it's only our limiting beliefs that hold us back. If you ask people who love you, they'll always tell you you can achieve far more than you think you can. My biggest challenge at the moment is I'm writing a book, and it's been for years, and it's a really hard challenge. And I was like, oh, Suze, you'll do it, no problems. Whereas my head is like, oh, are you ever going to do this, really? And my friends are like, oh, you'll do it, no worries. Well, obviously you'll do it. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'm glad you believed, because it's really hard for me to believe. So your people that see you and you know, see what you can do, can see their potential often far more than we can see in ourselves. So dream big and good luck. And if we've got any questions, we've got 2 minutes for questions. And thank you for having me.